Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Monday, May 11th, 2026 work session. It is now 5:31 and we will begin. I'd like to ask the city clerk to do the roll call.
Mayor Garitano,
Here.
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Nyan,
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Trottier,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Roblewski,
Here.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Bockert,
Present.
Councilmember Crayons,
Here.
Councilmember Vanek,
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
Here.
Councilmember Galani.
All right, welcome everyone to our work session here. We have a busy night ahead of us. I do not have any other comments or announcements at this time, so we'll move into the for information section of the agenda. This is now an opportunity for any council members that have any questions or remarks regarding any of the for information items, and if you do, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any, but we can certainly address any if they do come up also during miscellaneous. We'll move under for action with the first item A, Administration and Public Works Committee. First item, Deer Management and Archery Hunting Regulations, Survey, Methodology, and Implementation Timeline. City Administrator Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council. I wanted to bring this back after the last meeting where we had discussed the archery feasibility analysis. And the motion that came out of the City Council last meeting was that we're not going to go ahead and contract with the local archery group, and we're not going to necessarily go out and get private property access. That said, a portion of it is we should get feedback based on the regulations we currently have for archery hunting. So the idea was to reach out to a third party to be able to draft a survey and come up with a methodology to make it fair, make it even, and remove the city from actually drafting the questions itself. That said, we did just that over the last month. We had reconnected with Professor Matthew Naines. He's currently serving with the University of Chicago now rather than St. Louis University, but nonetheless, he is willing to help, would be available during the months of June and July to assist with the development of the survey and the methodology we'll have to go ahead and mail it out and conduct the actual collection of data. The other thing there was also we had just heard back from the Missouri Department of Conservation, which they are also willing to be a part of the process and help critique and add some input onto the actual survey design itself. So we've got two really good partners, and the idea tonight was just to bring this kind of the methodology, the timeline we're going to have for putting this survey together to the council and getting endorsement. First and foremost, we plan on having the Professor Naines go out, and this is a question we can discuss tonight, whether or not we're going to do ward based on wards or based on property size. That was a discussion at admin PW that was discussed because you may have some sampling, skewing of the sampling of who you're going out to, because take Ward 6 and Ward 1, for instance. If you're trying to account for both ward and for the size of the property, most of our 3-acre properties are going to be out in Ward 1 and Ward 6. So you're going to end up kind of skewing who is selected from the sampling model. So one thing I wanted to get some direction from the council on tonight is the more important thing, getting a perfect sampling of the acreage sizes. So getting a clean sample of over 3, between 1 and 3, and less than 1 acres in size, or would we like it to be more representative of the whole city and put less of an emphasis on the actual size of the parcel, the individual that's responding? The other item I wanted to bring up was just generally endorsing the idea of using Professor Naines. And go ahead, the department will put together a formal scope of agreement and get that moving. Then the other item is, and this was discussed at Administration and Public Works, is we originally had some just generalized questions. It wasn't necessarily the final survey, but it was just questions that could be asked. And the discussion that took place on May 5th was more so geared towards we should just focus on the regulations and archery regulations that we have on the books, and if we should change them within this survey, and not necessarily go after and start discussing whether or not the sharpshooting program is endorsed or whether overpopulation is an issue. Those questions may not be included here. It's going to be more so focused on just our regulations. So that was another. And then also the timeline being we'd have hopefully a finalized survey ready to go at the next meeting. Data collection and the mailings would take place in June throughout July. And the most likely going to be bringing this back at August with the survey results, which does fit within Professor Nain's timeline. And also MDC. So tonight, the department is available for any questions that may arise. But overall, if this is the correct approach with where we're going, wanted to get that endorsement from the council tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, City Administrator. I'd like to see if we have any one that wishes to speak. Councilmember Dodwell.
Just a quick question. I appreciate that we're doing this so we can get more critical data to work with. Is this going to impact our ability to re-engage white buffalo come the 2026-27 hunting period so that we can continue with the program that we had all approved?
Yeah, so if we get the results back in August, which seems realistic, we would need a quick turnaround just because we did have it go a little bit later in the year when we had that agreement approved last year, which it ended up not being approved. I think that based on the discussions we've had with White Buffalo, we'd want to engage them earlier than later in the process to be able to get a firm agreement down. So it could if we pushed it off, past August.
So our goal is to get it completed in August and then share that with White Buffalo so that they know where we have potentials.
Well, and that's a good question here for tonight. The survey and we kind of workshopped a little bit at Administration Public Works earlier this week. There was discussion that we should focus in on the archery hunting regulations and almost treat the sharpshooting program as a separate topic. That said, if we wanted to provide feedback and engage residents on the feedback for the sharpshooting program and their endorsement of it, that could also be included. That'd be a great time now to include that.
I'm not saying that we have to include it. I guess my concern is that we get lost in this survey and don't begin our culling for the 26-27 year. So I guess for all of council and those that you are coming on, I'm going to be pushing very hard to reinstitute what we did not do last year. We had tremendous success in the prior 2 years, and I've heard many complaints from individuals that we did not do it in this 25-26 years. So I want to make sure that we continue on with what we had originally planned.
Understood. And in this case, the department, since right now, and just to provide an update, right now the department is off. We don't have a firm direction based on re-engaging White Buffalo. The last motion that we did have that was approved was to attempt to re-engage them for the 2026 season. So that was going to be for the remainder of the year that we were working on. So the department would appreciate if that is the direction the council would like to go. If we could get a motion in that direction, we could start engaging them right away.
I'd like to make a motion that we re-engage White Buffalo for the 26-27 year and continue utilizing the funds that were approved.
All right, that's a motion. I'm looking at Councilmember Vanek. Is that a second on the motion? Oh, well, we do, in order to have discussion, would like to have a second. So
Okay.
do you wish to make that second or, all right, is there someone that would like to second that motion? Made by Councilmember Mabry. Now that we have this motion on the floor, discussion will be related to the motion here. Councilmember Mabry, did you have anything you wish to comment on? If not, we can come back to you afterwards.
Just really to concur, hopefully as succinctly as Councilmember Dodwell did. We lost immense ground last year, and that's waste. I don't want to see a second year of waste in a row. The archers and their hunting, applaudable as an ancillary effort. The continuation of the measured success we had White Buffalo for 2 years running. The city can't afford to have that inertia lost a third year. Thank you.
Okay, let me go back to Councilmember Vanek. You had your hand up.
There we go. First of all, a small but important mention about the what came out of admin PW regarding the regulation survey. There's a lot of talk about contract. There are bow hunting organizations that never wanted to. All they want is a permit. So it's not, when we're talking contracts versus permits, we should be careful with their, I know there are groups that would prefer a contract and there are groups that prefer just a permit process. I don't think that we can do it as a city, as a contract. It gives us too much liability, but as a permit, I do feel that other cities within St. Louis County have successfully used this permitting process to limit their deer population. And for me, I am interested in seeing the results of the survey. It sounds like from a couple comments already, people have made up their minds, regardless of what the survey says. But one other detail, the 1 acre issue, I think could be simplified down to those who just have 1 acre and not get into the details or the confusion or whatever of combining acreage to get an aggregate of 1 acre or more. It's just a simpler, leaner process and would be leaner on the survey. That's all I have to say for now.
Anyone else that wishes to speak? Councilmember Krantz.
I like to have a survey done of the entire deer population, so we have an accurate account of our deer before we go in there and kill them. And then, so I'm not comfortable with not doing that. I think it's important that we know really what the accurate number of deer is in Wildwood before we start eliminating them. And Tom, you mentioned something about the 1 in 3 acres. Certainly that has to be in the survey. I think also in the survey should be the amount of money we spend. And one of the reasons why there's some opposition to white buffalo, because it is expensive. Those are my concerns, that I would like to see something in the survey about what I just said.
Do you want to make an amendment for that so it's included in the motion on the floor?
I will make an amendment. Yes, I'll make a motion
Okay.
to amend that. And I can go through that. Drone survey, 1 to 3 acres, allowing 1 to 3 acres, which opens up almost 11,000 more properties for bow hunting, which would make sense because there'd be more deer available to call. Make sure we talk about the 1 in 3 acres, and also that all the other cities surrounding Wildwood has that in place as well, and it's working for these cities. And then the amount of money that we're spending on white buffalo, the cost, I think the taxpayers need to know that. So that's my motion.
Do you have a second? Made by Councilmember Ottenberg. So we do have an amendment on the floor, and just for clarity's sake, Colleen, do you have the main motion that was made by Councilmember Dodwell?
I have that she wanted to make sure we re-engage white buffalo for 2026.
Well, it'd be 2026, 27.
27.
So your motion, I just want to make sure we're on track here. Your motion was to re-engage white buffalo for 2026, 2027?
My motion is to re-engage white buffalo for 26, 27. I also understand that Mr. Vanek is concerned about having some alternative methods for doing things with archers. I will iterate that in prior years, we have had people come to city council because archers have shot deer on their personal property of more than 3 acres, and those deers have run into individuals' yards in subdivisions next to their homes. And then we get complaints from those individuals. How did that deer get here? My child is traumatized. So while I appreciate archery and the satisfaction it can provide and the cost savings it can provide, I still think we need to retain white buffalo so that we have skilled marksmen who know how to bait, how to bring the deer to a location that minimizes the population. And those of you who may not be deer hunters, you can shoot a deer in the head and they drop. You can shoot a deer with and that's with a gun. You shoot a deer with an arrow and the chances of them dropping immediately are slim to none, and they will run. And the individual hunter has to go get that deer wherever it has fallen. So I want to be cognizant of that.
I appreciate that. I was just wondering because the topic that was forwarded to us was related to a survey. So the motion that you made regarding engaging white buffalo is unrelated to the survey. So I would have to rule it out of order, the
Okay.
motion. So therefore, we don't have a motion on the floor at this time. But if there is someone that wishes to make or try again, if you want to try again another motion, I do want to make sure we stay on topic, which is the survey item that was brought to us.
Well, the motion I made before you talked about the survey was that we engage white buffalo for the 2026, 20.
Yeah, that's
7
the
years.
part that's out of order because it's not related to the survey. That's,
Okay.
yeah. So again, this is related to the survey only here, the way
Continue.
it's posted. Councilmember Ottenberg.
So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for that clarification, but I believe then Councilmember Kranz's proposed is his amendment to include in the survey a reference to the cost of utilizing sharpshooter still relevant?
If you wish to make a motion, now would be the time to make a motion. We don't have a motion now on the floor because it, again, ruled the one before out of order. So the
Okay.
amendment goes with it as well. So if that amendment were to be made as its own motion, it is related to a survey, then we would be staying to topic here.
Okay, so I'm going to defer to Councilmember Kranz on that because it was his thought to put that into the survey.
Okay, Councilmember Kranz, do you wish
Okay,
to
I'll
start
make
over?
that motion of those 4 items I previously mentioned. I think, Tom, you wrote those down.
Yes.
Can you read those?
Yes, so I had here that we would conduct a population survey again to get a new count of the deer population. And then the major component was obviously including the 3 acre versus 1 acre parcel component in the survey, and then also including the cost of the efforts to date with white buffalo was what I had down.
I thought there was 4 things I said here.
Survey of the population.
Do you want to see if the city clerk still has, do you have what was mentioned before?
I had that his motion was to include in the survey, a drone survey to determine population 1 to 3 acres and the money spent on white buffalo.
Okay,
Okay,
so is that going to be your
I'll
motion?
make that motion.
Okay. So we do need a second, and then we've got a couple of hands up. Councilmember Bockert? Okay, so you've seconded. So anything else you wish to speak of? All right, I'm going to look to this side. I know we had Councilmember Farmer, Nye, the Councilmember Dodwell. Did you have something as well? Okay, so we're going to do Farmer, Nye, and Ottenberg, and then we'll come to this side here.
So just so I understand, are we going to add a question on the survey to ask if we should do a drone survey, or are we doing a drone survey?
We're asking the public if they feel it's important that we get an accurate number of the deer before we kill them. And the best way to do that is through a drone survey. So that language has to be part of the survey.
So I would then just encourage, if that's what we want to do, I think that's fine, but I also think we should add in there whatever the expense of that might be, which I think is something in the neighborhood of $80,000 to $90,000 to do that. So I think we probably want to point that out.
Now, we did some part of the city, so it shouldn't be that much. I would think it'd be around 60, maybe closer to 65,000 pounds.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would say we probably got to get a bid to get the whole city, because when we did the survey back in November or whenever that was, by the time we're able to do a drone survey again, that will be a year down.
And that's fine, because I think it's important. If we're gonna kill the deer, we need to know how many deer we have, so we don't overkill them. I mean, that's been a concern. So I'm fine with that, if that's the figure you want to use.
I just think what I would suggest.
Yeah, whatever, it's gonna cost some money,
Yeah, I would just say if we're going to put the money in there, I think that's fine. I think it's also important to put the timeline in there, because I'm certainly not an expert on drone surveys, but I think it would be difficult to do any type of a survey, specifically a thermal drone survey, when the trees are leaved out, which means this survey wouldn't be possible to do until next winter, which would then in fact mean we postpone another year of doing anything.
We're gonna do it at the appropriate time. I'm not saying doing it right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's when we had this conversation, it was to engage an expert to come up with these kinds of questions, because the second you start asking one, another one comes up. So if we're going to do, it costs $90,000, we can't do it until November.
Okay.
That means this happens at this point in time. And when we get that information back, we can't do any type of activities after that, which means it's another year down the road.
If I don't get the information I want in a survey, I will not vote for it.
I'm certain that is true.
Okay. So,
All right, Councilmember Nyan, I have you next.
I had a couple of the same questions that Joe had, but so I thought this was we're agreeing to do the survey. We're letting the experts and the MDC maybe help too, come up with the questions. And then we do have an opportunity to go back to MM Public Works, right? And they'll look at all the questions, talk about the questions, see if there's any that want to be scratched, any that want to be added. And then it would come to council for approval of that survey before it goes out. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So the current plan now is to, over the next month, work on that survey design with input. And the thing is tonight, and what was discussed at the MMPW committee was that, hey, we had a broad sampling of different types of questions, and it was not supposed to be that long in the first place. It was supposed to gauge the committee's kind of leanings towards what do we want to include in this. And the consensus that took place at that meeting was that we should really, there's so many issues involving deer management that we should really just focus in on the regulation component, since that's been the biggest request that's come in, to really see, if the residents would be impacted by implementing either a permit process and the questions that go with that, and then also looking at the 1 versus 3 acre minimum. The idea, though, would be, at least from that direction and tonight's direction from the council, we'll bring that back to Administration and Public Works for kind of another preview, and then that final survey design would come back to the council in June.
Councilmember Ottenberg, you're next.
Yes, I was just going to endorse the idea of including the cost of engaging with the sharpshooter for the next season into the survey. And I guess we'll have a chance to do that in admin PW in the next session, simply because it's easy to ask residents if they would like to engage with sharpshooters when there's no cost involved. But when you tell them that engaging with a sharpshooting organization could potentially cost as much as $225,000, their answer may be something quite different. So it's very important that we include that cost into the survey.
can we also include the cost of doing the aerial survey?
Currently, we have the cost. We don't have a firm cost. We have the cost of doing one of the survey areas. And I guess that's a question too. When we say survey the entire city, the survey area that we've looked at is 30 square miles of the full city. So do we want to focus in on the areas of study where the major roadways have been, and that's where we've targeted? Or do we want to focus in on the entire city? Because that would add it would be another 38 square miles. So it would add some cost.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
I have, after Councilmember Ottenberg, Councilmembers Marshall and McCutcheon, and I do see Councilmember Trottier. I'll put you on the list. So Councilmember Marshall, you're next.
Yeah, we sent this back to admin to say we need to survey the size of the properties to find out whether or not people would be interested in including the bow hunters. They're already included in the 3 acre. but less than 3 acres. That was the intent of the survey. And I don't understand then why we were adding all these things into a survey that was intended. If there's an overwhelming support for it, then I think the next step would be have the cost of the drone surveys, have the cost, you integrate the two programs. But the initial guidance from this council was to identify the survey similar to the solar one and how to get that out timely to get that information back. If we are going to put the cost of doing it, then I really believe you should put in that we saved $400,000 in car accidents last year, deer-related car collisions. That, I think that's pretty big. If you spent $200,000 and you save $400,000 in reportable car accidents, I don't think you should just do the cost. I think you should do the savings at the same time. But I actually would prefer we don't do any of that in this very simple survey. Do you want us to hunt on 1 acre or 3 acres or less with bow hunters? That's all we were told to ask, not to all the other things that we should do. But however that comes back, then all these other things need to be done. I agree.
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused. I know there's been a lot of public participation about deer management, but is this survey going to include residents?
It's only 2 citizens.
The survey,
Only 2 residents.
no, it would include, so there, I think there's confusion because there's 2 different surveys being referenced. There's the survey that we're working on that would be a random sampling of the entire population of the city that would be done by this third party, Professor Naines. So that would be residents. Last time when we did the solar survey, we surveyed randomly about 1,200 residents, 150 from each ward. That would be similar probably to this case too. Then on the other side, what is being referenced here is the population survey, which is pretty much taking a thermal drone and surveying the area to identify, quantify as best you can the number of deer in a specific area. So
But the residents will be surveyed.
yes, that's the intent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Trottier, you're next.
Mr. Marshall addressed my concern. I think we need to keep this in its own lane, simple survey to the community to gauge interest in archery deer culling. I think if a drone survey, and I agree with Mr. Kranz, that's the next logical step when we evaluate what efforts, if any, need to be expended with white buffalo. But I think the council can make that decision. I don't know that we need to get into cost, estimates with the community.
All right. I don't have any other speakers, or do you wish to speak again, Councilmember Kranz?
Just one more comment. Now, I talked to these cities that allow bow hunting, and they've done surveys of their deer. So I wouldn't say that's not important, because I think that is very important. So that's all I'm going to say. The other cities are doing it. They want to know an accurate number of their deer.
Okay, great. I don't have any other speakers that wish to speak. So therefore, we do have a motion on the floor. Does anyone need the motion repeated? Yes, we have a request. Can you reread the motion that is currently on the floor?
The initial motion or the amended motion?
The final motion.
No, the one that is basically the ones that Councilmember Kranz made, which is the, I believe it was like.
I have it.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the cost.
Oh, to include in the survey, if they want 1 to 3 archery, 1 to 3 acres, a drone survey to determine population and the cost for the drone survey along with timeline and the amount of money spent on white buffalo.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
correct?
that is correct, I believe. And then the other thing would be, when it says 1 to 3, it would just be categorizing the 1 acre regulation versus 3. Just to clarify there.
Okay.
Colleen and I can circle up with you on that.
Well, I think what's important here is that you're opening up more property to hunt deer. And if you do that, obviously the accident history will drop furthermore. We only opened about 1/3 of our properties up for deer hunting. So 2/3 of our land is not being hunted on. And I know there's residents that would like that land to be hunted on. So anyway,
All right. So you had made the motion, Councilmember Kranz, and seconded by Councilmember Bacher. You're good with that as well? All right. Seeing no other hands up, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose?
Opposed.
Opposed.
All right, we do have a number, so we'll do a roll call to make sure we're clear. Go ahead.
Councilmember Farmer,
No.
Councilmember Dodwell,
No, not as form.
Councilmember Nyan,
No.
Councilmember Ottenberg, Councilmember Trottier,
Yes.
Councilmember Mabry,
No.
Councilmember Roblewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Preston,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall,
No.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
No.
Councilmember Rambo,
No.
Councilmember Bockert,
Yes.
Councilmember Crayons, Councilmember Vanek,
Yes.
Councilmember Albers.
Yeah.
The tie.
It's a tie, so I get to break the tie. First tie I think I've ever broken. All right, we'll move forward with it. Thank you. All right, moving on. We have item B, Planning and Parks Committee, Park and Recreation Regulations, proposed changes to the Village Greens use. Director Vunich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, as you may recall, for many years, we've been holding our concerts and other special events on property that is owned by someone else other than the city. That is to change this coming Friday when we move all of our events to Village Green. In those past events, we've allowed the sale of alcohol as part of the event to allow for fundraising and to accommodate what many people like, a cold beer or something akin to that as part of the event while they're listening to music or enjoying some of the other activities. Our current park and trail regulations prohibit that. The Planning and Parks Committee was asked to consider that regulation and the prohibition, and before you tonight is a recommendation to allow the city attorney and the Department of Planning and Parks to draft legislation to allow for the sale of alcohol for certain purposes within Village Green only. The city attorney would prepare the appropriate wording, and then it would be presented in the form of a bill at the next available meeting, which is anticipated in June. The committee endorsed this unanimously, and it is before you tonight for authorization to proceed to the next step. Thank you.
All right, and thank you for that, Director Vunich. So I think a main reason too is we've held all of our events on land that's never been owned by the city.
That's correct. We've always been a traveler, so to speak.
So
No
it's the
more.
first time we actually get to hold concerts and other events on the city of Wildwood property. All right, any questions or comments regarding this? If not, can I get a motion? Made by Councilmember Trottier. What is your motion, please?
To proceed with amendment to the ordinance or regulation regarding sale of alcohol on Village Green.
Okay, and a second, I see Councilmember Ottenberg. So we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Abstain. All right, the motion passes. Thank you. Moving on, next item, Village Green Phase 2, third draft of the engineered plan for all-inclusive playground.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, as you recall, the City Council, the Planning and Parks Committee, as well as many of the team members have been working on Phase 2 of Village Green, which is the all-inclusive playground. Over the course of that process, our consultant has provided a series of plans. Each of those plans reflect more information and ultimately an ultimate design. Two things came up at the Planning and Parks Committee this past month, and those are the items for discussion tonight. The first relates to the restroom facility. At a previous committee meeting, the members decided that a smaller facility would be appropriate due to cost. The smaller facility was presented to the committee at its April meeting, and from their perspective, it was something that they believed wouldn't suffice for the anticipated use that we expect both from the Village Green as well as the all-inclusive playground. Therefore, the committee recommended a larger facility, which will have an increased cost. Also at that same meeting, a discussion went forward relative to an additional piece of equipment. It is a swing set that accommodates wheelchairs. It's a unique piece of equipment and certainly adds a different approach and cost to the overall project. The committee endorsed such, and tonight the department is respectfully requesting that endorsement be authorized and that it would allow the Department of Planning to begin the process of pricing that out to get that information to the committee as soon as possible so we can proceed forward with recommendations from the members and then to city council. So two new additional changes that the department is seeking endorsement tonight from city council. And I would note as a sidebar, if there is an endorsement of the new restroom facility at a larger size, the department will be requesting a postponement of the bill that's in first session tonight to proceed forward with the smaller version of the restroom.
All right, Director Vunich, so you're looking for a motion right
Yes.
now, right? So is there anyone on council that would like to make motion at this time? How about Councilmember Robolewski?
Oh, sorry. I'd like to make the motion that we proceed with the restroom, even though it has increased cost, and also the additional wheelchair swing. And the reasons for that is the restroom, as it is planned, is certainly something that can be used, but to make it truly accessible for a larger child, it would be helpful to have the additional space for the to accommodate more. And if it's in use, it'd be helpful to have the additional bathroom for other people, because there's not enough space and it takes longer to use the facility. The other one on the additional wheelchair swing, that one would be unique to our playground and would be something that would make this a definitely sought after place to come, because also if it's a larger person, it's harder to transfer them to the swing. So this would be something very neat, unique, that would help the caregivers for these children to truly enjoy it without all of the work involved with transferring them to another swing.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add to that last comment just very briefly. It also, as Ms. Robolewski mentioned, it expands the age group that can be accommodated at this facility, the older children, and that's a key component I think the committee endorsed wholeheartedly.
Okay, great. So we have a motion made by Councilmember Robolewski. Is there anyone that wishes a second? Made by Councilmember McCutcheon. So we now have the motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? All right, the motion passes. We'll move on to C, historic preservation. Number one, proposal for the preservation of the J.P. Connell House, single-family dwelling located upon the property at 18410 St. Albans Road, locator 24X540073. Director Vunich, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of City Council, as you are aware from updates that have been provided since the beginning of this year, January, the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Wildwood has been working with the owner of the J.P. Connell House and the associated 14 acres on a preservation effort. At its last meeting in April, the commission took action on 5 motions. 2 of those motions are before you tonight. The first of those motions is to engage in the board up and securing the building by the City of Wildwood contractors. The Historic Preservation Commission felt that the current effort has been laudable, but certainly has not secured the building from vandalism or the elements. There is a cost associated with this, and that cost is yet to be determined. The second motion that is applicable tonight is to enter into a short-term lease with the property owner by the City of Wildwood at $1 per month to allow the city to basically maintain the property during the process where the Historic Preservation Commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and City Council work through what is to be a proposed incentive package. These are unusual requests. Certainly, the Historic Preservation Commission recognized such, but if we are going to say probably one of the 4 or 5 assets that actually could be eligible for placement on the U.S. Department of Interior, National Park Services, National Register of Historic Places, we need to take a more proactive approach, because we found if we wait and hope others will step forward, Mary Cliff Residence is now some demolition landfill elsewhere than the City of Wildwood. Tonight, the commission, and the department is asking for authorization to proceed forward with the city attorney on these two items. This is not an endorsement to proceed forward with the actual activity. It is for us to prepare the necessary components to bring back to the commission, Historic Preservation Commission, and City Council at a future meeting. If there are any questions, certainly the department would be glad to answer them. And I would note that Dr. Rambo and Councilmember Mabry are on the commission as liaisons, and they can certainly participate and answer questions better than I. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Vunich. Do we have anyone that wishes to make a motion? Councilmember Kranz, is that a motion or? Sure, that would be great if we can have a motion made. Do you want to state the motion or? Go ahead.
To move forward with the development of the components, not the activity.
Well, let's get a second on the floor. That would be the appropriate way. Councilmember Rambo is a second on the motion. Now that we have the motion on the floor, we can have discussion. Director Vunich, can you answer that?
Councilmember Kranz, the city can only offer zoning incentives, which typically mean a different use than what's allowed under the master plan, or an increase in the terms of intensity or density of the use as allowed by the master plan. And we do not have a property tax, which is usually the tool most other communities use, deferring their property tax.
Okay, Councilmember Rambo.
Yeah, Judge, just so I'm clear, part of this effort that you're suggesting or requesting approval for is quantify the insurance cost and quantify the stabilization cost, right? So we will have those numbers when we actually have something to vote on, right?
Yes, there was a motion made. The first of the 5 motions was to engage a structural engineer to do an assessment of the building. The department was able to accomplish that in a couple of weeks we had. This structural engineer gave it a thumbs up, says it's structurally sound and can be returned to an active use. However, the department was unable to get the other 2, so we need that time and the endorsement to proceed forward. Again, this does not mean we're going to board up the building, nor does it mean we'll be under lease. This is just to get us started.
Okay. Again, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion or question? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstain? Okay, that passes. We'll move on. The next item on the agenda is a request to go into executive closed session. We're able to do so only under a certain limited number of reasons specified. RSMO 610.021 subsection 2, which deals with leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration thereof. So we also have a request to go under RSMO 610.021 subsection 1, which is lease, purchase, or sale of real estate. So, okay, and we have one more, which is, or did we? Subsection. Okay. Oh, so that one is actually subsection 1, make stand corrected, is for legal actions, causes of action, litigation, or privileged communications between the city's representatives and its attorneys. So with that, we do have to have a roll call. Can we get a motion to go into closed executive session under RSMO, the RSMO numbers I stated? All right, Councilmember Rambo made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Farmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Dodwell.
Yes.
Councilmember Nyan.
Yes.
Councilmember Ottenberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Trottier.
Yes.
Councilmember Mabry.
Yes.
Councilmember Roblewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Preston.
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall.
Yes.
Councilmember McCutcheon.
Yes.
Councilmember Rambo.
Yes.
Councilmember Bockert.
Yes.
Councilmember Kranz.
Yeah.
Councilmember Vanek.
Yes.
Councilmember Albers.
Yeah.
Okay, the council will be moving into the community room for the closed session, and we will be back shortly. Evening, everyone. All right, we are close to wrapping up our work session. So if I could just ask for your attention while we finish up the work session. We're going to move on to miscellaneous, receive and file, and I'll have Director Vunich come up.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission acted on a recommendation relative to Fellowship of Wildwood. That recommendation was to accommodate the modular classroom facilities on a permanent basis. And so with that, the department would respectfully request authorization to prepare legislation for the next meeting and hold the public hearing on this matter.
Okay. Any questions from the council? All right, assuming then no action, then
If
go
I
ahead.
could get a authorization to proceed forward to public hearing and legislation.
Okay, so you do need a motion.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, let's get a motion then. Councilmember Marshall and seconded by Councilmember Bockert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? Great, thank you. So we're going to
Thank
move on
you.
to now some remarks for our outgoing council members. I'm going to step down to make a couple of remarks and then certainly ask if those outgoing council members wish to speak. Good to see you all tonight. And we are just about to wrap up our work session here. This is a special meeting because it is the time where we send off those council members who are finishing their service to our city. Sometimes they end their term. Sometimes it's because they choose to retire from service here to our city and our citizens. But it's a special event too, because we also get to welcome new council members and then also the mayor as well at certain times every couple of years. So first, I would like to recognize Councilmember Chris Preston over here from Ward 1. He will be stepping down at the end of his term tonight. And so I would like to express on behalf of our council and also the members of our staff here at City Hall that have had the privilege to work with Chris, to thank you for your service to our city. It's been a pleasure to serve alongside of you. We've enjoyed your insights that you've provided to the council. We hope that you will continue to stay involved in some way or another in Wildwood and hope to see your face around here. But we appreciate everything you've done for us, and we want to send you off with a special gift here. So if you'd like to come down, we'll present this gift to you here. And then you could say something, so you might want to start thinking about it. All right, so we're going to present this special gift here for Chris here, who we've gotten to know well. And again, we thank you for your service, and I'd like to see if there's anything you wish to say.
Oh, it's been a wonderful honor to serve the city and meet all these wonderful people and the wonderful staff at City Hall that works very hard to make this place run like a top. And, I'm excited for the incoming people and see where the city's going from here. We've got a lot of stuff cooking, and I think we're going in a great direction. So I think our best years are still ahead of us.
Great, great. Well, thank you very much. And I think thank you. I'm going to ask now Councilmember McCutcheon. It's your turn to come on down. So Councilmember Deborah McCutcheon has served the citizens of Ward 5 very loyally and dedicated. In fact, she's got quite an audience over here with signs. I'm not surprised. All right. And I know that she has a couple of words to say, so I'm going to try to get mine in before she does. You know, Deborah and I go way back, and I know she goes way back with many council members, but one of the things that I will truly miss is how I got to kid around with Deborah just about at every meeting. You know, Deborah is such a strong fighter for Ward 5. So if I walked into a meeting and say, hey, Deborah, we're going to propose a casino in Ward 5, she would be there right at me like, no, you're not. Do it in Ward 8. But just, you know, and we covered quite a number of topics. We were going to have our underground bunker in Ward 5, right by Green Pines Park. She didn't budge for that either. The zip line, yeah, we were going to do a zip line to Ward 5. And what else? Any other good, interesting ones? Yeah, we talked about a lot of different zoning changes for her. But, you know, I just really enjoyed her sense of humor, the ability to have a good laugh, because sometimes we didn't always agree on topics. I think early on, we probably disagreed more. And then now, as I guess we got older here in council, we just kind of got along well. So I'm going to truly miss you, but I don't think you're going that far because she wants to stay involved with the city. And I know she truly cares about the people of Wildwood and certainly the way that she took her job so seriously. In fact, a lot of times when I would talk to residents, I would use Deborah as an example. Like, you got to fight like Deborah does. So anyway, Deborah, we want to thank you on behalf of the city council here for your service and as well for the city staff here. They're going to miss you deeply. And I know the council will miss you here as being a part of the meetings here. But we truly appreciate your service and everything you've done for us. And we'll be presenting. So we're presenting also a gift for Councilmember McCutcheon. And we're going to have some cookies later so we can use that. Come. Here. I'm going to hand over. She did request that she wanted to speak tonight, and looks like she's got a speech ready. So, Deborah, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you who showed up, and thank you for the sign. I totally appreciate that. I did write something down so I could get through it. We all know I can't leave without saying something. So, it's been an honor and a unique privilege to represent Ward 5 in the city of Wildwood. It is with a deep sense of pride that I have been able to collaborate with Ward 5 residents in an impactful, positive, valuable, and meaningful way. Working together, we enhance the Ward 5 residents. Working as a team to attain goal to establish the Ward 5 Park. I applaud each and every one of you for repeatedly attending planning, zone, council, and committee meetings, gathering petitions and supporting the park, attending sessions to develop the park vision, and the Green Pines Elementary students for naming the park. Accomplishing this goal was a true grassroots effort. It is with a deep appreciation that I was able to participate in this vision, government of and for. Thank you for your continuous support and trust. It's with deepest gratitude I've had the opportunity to be the people's representative of Ward 5. Thank you. And I do also want to say thank you to Mayor Garantano. We have had a lot of back and forth, but we did learn to get along, and he's been very supportive of Ward 5, which we greatly appreciate. Thank you to the city administrator. Thank you to all of my council members that are colleagues, and thank you to Mr. Village, who's been very supportive of Ward 5 as well. And I do have to give a shout out to Jim Bowling. I know he's around here somewhere. but he's the one who broke the tie to make the park possible. So I can't go without saying thank you. And thank you to the entire staff of the city. You all have been very supportive and helpful, and thank you so much. There you go.
Thank you very much. And again, we hope to see you come and visit us. We're not going to move City Hall to Ward 5, Deborah. So, all right. Well, I'm going to miss those. I'll still email you. Well, we do have another council member that will be outgoing. Unfortunately, he is not here tonight, but I think it's fair to also recognize his service to our city. Council member Michael Galani, who represented Ward 8. I was Ward 8 council member before I stepped into this role. So I got to work with Mike, and I want to recognize the work that he did, where he did an excellent job chairing our Planning and Parks Committee for some time. I know that's a role that he really stepped into it and just ran with it. So we want to thank him for his service to that committee as well as Ward 8. And we will miss working with him on City Council, his forward-looking vision that he had for the city, and the work that he did with our city staff. So thank you to Councilmember Michael Galani. And we also have a similar tray that we'll be presenting to him when we get to see him. So thank you. So at this point, Deborah, you stole my thunder. I was going to recognize former Mayor Jim Bolin, who's in the back of the room. Always great to see you. Do you want the job now? You can have it if you want. Just kidding. But anyway, I did step right into the role after former Mayor Bolin. So anyway, great to see you all. But we are going to wrap up our work session now with adjournment. We'll pause for about 10 minutes. I'm going to ask the council to just stay put. We're going to take a photo before this council gets to step down. And we're going to pause for 10 minutes, and then we'll begin with the first session of the main council meeting. So thank you. And we do have some refreshments, but we certainly appreciate everyone being here tonight. So with that, we have, can we get a motion for adjournment? All right, made by Councilmember Bacher, seconded by Councilmember Preston. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting work session is adjourned. And again, we'll restart in about 10 minutes.
Testing, 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 testing.
Everyone together. We're going to start with the first session of the council meeting. This is still with the council that has served up to now. So again, would like to welcome everyone to our city council meeting for Monday, May 11th at 6:49. I appreciate your patience as we have a busy schedule here. Again, welcome. And Colleen, if you can do the roll call.
Mayor Giratano,
Here.
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Nyan,
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Trottier,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Roblewski,
Here.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember McCutcheon,
Here.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Bockert,
Present.
Councilmember Crayons,
Here.
Councilmember Vanek,
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
Here.
Councilmember Galani.
Okay, if you can join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, again, thank you for joining us. I have couple of remarks to make under the mayor's announcements as required. I do have to make a state of the city speech here, so if you bear with me here, I'll go through this here. But good evening, everyone. So more than 30 years ago, residents of Wildwood came together with the bold idea that nature could be preserved, that growth could be thoughtful, and that local decisions should remain in local hands. That vision has shaped the city we know today. And today, as we look around our city, we are seeing those long-term plans become reality. For many years, Wildwood was planning its future. Today, not only do we continue to plan tomorrow today, we are seeing that vision take shape. Over the last year, we have made significant progress across our city. We completed construction of the new Village Green and recently celebrated its grand opening. What was once a vision on paper is now becoming the heart of our city, a place for concerts, special events, recreation, and gathering together as neighbors. Major infrastructure improvements also continue throughout the city. We completed the Manchester Road and Taylor Road resurfacing and signal improvement project and continued roadway resurfacing efforts throughout Wildwood. In partnership with MoDOT, we also advanced significant safety and infrastructure improvements along State Routes 100, 109, and BA, including resurfacing, a new roundabout, new turn lanes, and intersection upgrades designed to improve both traffic flow and safety along some of the region's most heavily traveled corridors. Construction has also begun on the Route 109 and Route BA South Roundabout project, which will improve both traffic flow and safety. And we began construction of the Old State Road shared use path to improve pedestrian and bicycle connectivity. We also converted 100 streetlights along Manchester Road to energy-efficient LED lighting through a federal grant partnership, improving reliability while reducing long-term operating costs. We continued major stormwater planning efforts, advanced work on our first-ever stormwater management master plan, and began designing improvements along Calks Creek to better prepare for the future extreme rain events. We also advanced Wildwood's first historic preservation plan, an important effort focused on protecting and honoring the history and character that helped shape our city. We modernized city operations by redesigning our city website, implementing new asset tracking systems, and continuing broadband expansion efforts to improve connectivity for residents. And we continued investing in the quality of life that makes Wildwood special. We hosted another successful season of city events. From the farmers market, Natalie, where are you back there? There she is. She runs our farmers market. Good to see you. Thank you for your service. And Music on Main to celebrate Wildwood, Toward the Wildwood, our holiday tree lighting ceremony, and the new Haunted Express ride. We continued honoring our veterans through the Hometown Heroes program and our Salute to Our Veterans ceremony. And we continued investing in our parks, trails, and historic preservation efforts, including reconstruction of the historic Essen log cabin. These accomplishments reflect the work of many people. To our city council, our boards and commissions, our volunteers, city staff, contractors, and residents, none of this happens because of one person alone. It takes collaboration, commitment, a shared belief in our city, and I'm grateful for everyone who continues working to make Wildwood stronger. We also continued seeing momentum build in Town Center. The mixed-use development currently under construction represents an important next step in Wildwood Town Center's evolution. And importantly, it is being built exactly where our city planned for this type of activity decades ago, in the heart of our town center. Thoughtful development in the right places helps protect the character of the rest of our city. A strong town center benefits all of Wildwood. Beyond the economic impact, it creates places where people naturally come together. Outside of our parks, trails, and places of worship, many of the moments where we run into friends, neighbors, and fellow residents happen at our local businesses and restaurants. Those everyday interactions help strengthen the sense of community that makes Wildwood special while also supporting the long-term sustainability of our city. We're also beginning to see additional investment follow that momentum. American Water is currently developing preliminary plans for additional infrastructure improvements near Manchester Road and Route 109 to improve water pressure in portions of Town Center. While these plans are still in the early stages, they are expected to address long-standing concerns raised by residents in those areas over the next several years. We're also seeing encouraging growth at the new Health Sciences and Technology Center at St. Louis Community College. Enrollment continues to rise, and the investment being made there is helping strengthen our local businesses, workforce development opportunities, and our long-term vitality. But alongside progress, we must also speak honestly about the challenges ahead. Over the last year, Wildwood faced multiple severe weather events, including tornado activity, flooding, major storms, and significant snow and ice events. Once again, our public works crews, contractors, emergency responders, and utility partners worked around the clock to restore access, clear debris, and keep residents safe. For many years, cities like ours primarily planned and budgeted for winter weather events. Today, we must also prepare for increasingly frequent severe storms, flooding, tornadoes, and widespread infrastructure impacts. These events place growing pressure on city resources and budgets and are becoming a much larger part of long-term planning. We also continued our Safe Speeds, Safe Streets initiative in partnership with the Wildwood Precinct, increasing education and targeted enforcement efforts along key corridors in response to resident concerns regarding speeding, reckless driving, and excessive vehicle noise. And I want to take a moment to recognize the officers of the Wildwood Precinct who recently responded to a dangerous call involving an armed individual. Their professionalism, composure, and courage under extremely difficult circumstances reflect the very best of public service. We are grateful for their dedication and sacrifice. Wildwood also continued its tradition of strong financial stewardship, once again receiving national recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association for excellence in budgeting and financial reporting. At the same time, we are seeing growing pressures that local governments across Missouri are now facing. St. Louis County continues to face major financial challenges, and we are beginning to see some of those impacts reach Wildwood directly. As many residents know, Wildwood relies on a number of contracted services as part of our operating model. Over the last year, we experienced significant increases in projected contract costs across several areas. While we were able to reduce some of those increases through negotiations and operational adjustments, it's clear these pressures are not going away. We are also continuing to see state government reduce local revenues and shift more responsibilities onto municipalities without providing replacement funding. The reality is simple: costs continue to rise faster than revenues. Strong cities cannot wait for problems to become crises before taking action. Every year, we evaluate operations, look for efficiencies, and review potential reductions where appropriate. Those conversations are not always easy, and some decisions may not always be popular. But our responsibility is to ensure Wildwood remains financially sustainable long into the future, while protecting the services residents rely on most, especially public safety and critical infrastructure. At some point, we also must have honest conversations about long-term revenue sustainability. More consumers shop online, while traditional brick and mortar sales tax revenues are no longer growing at the same pace they once did. As that shift continues, many neighboring cities have adopted additional revenue tools to help offset those changes. Wildwood has chosen to operate differently. It's also important to remember that Wildwood is one of only 11 municipalities in St. Louis County that does not impose a real estate tax, while the overwhelming majority of the county's 88 municipalities do. These distinctions matter because Wildwood also carries responsibilities that are unique in scale. We remain the largest city by area in the county, with one of the county's largest populations. We maintain approximately 350 lane miles of roadway and over 150 miles of sidewalks. And we nearly have 7,700 public street trees across our city. Yet we do it all with 25 full-time employees. The purpose of raising these points is not to suggest immediate changes, but to recognize the realities cities like Wildwood face as costs continue rising and traditional revenue patterns continue evolving. Responsible cities must understand those long-term trends and plan accordingly. We also cannot allow fear of change to prevent us from preparing for the future. Communities around us continue to evolve, invest, and compete for high-quality opportunities. Wildwood must continue doing the same, carefully and thoughtfully in the right locations. A healthy city needs residents, jobs, services, and places to gather. Those things work together. And if we wait too long to adapt, we risk letting the highest value opportunities pass us by and being left to choose from what no one else wanted. That's not the future I want for Wildwood. I believe we can preserve the character that makes this city special while also making responsible investments that strengthen our future. And I believe Wildwood is capable of meeting these challenges because of the people who call this city home. We've always been resilient, we've been thoughtful, and we've always been willing to plan for the long term. And we must continue to do the same. So the decisions we make today will shape what Wildwood looks like, not just next year, but 20 and 30 years from now. And strong cities prepare before crises emerge. So thank you. I ask that we help us continue preparing Wildwood, not just for today, but for the generations that will follow us. Thank you. Thank you. So one of the privileges that I have with this job is that I get to present a proclamation, and we do that typically when we have something very memorable, a significant milestone. Sometimes it may be a business that's celebrating 20 years. or perhaps sometimes I get a request for a 100th birthday. But sometimes we have to take a look at the opportunities that are right in front of us, and maybe just looking at right in front of us is right now is the time to do that. So I have two wonderful people that I would like to recognize, and I'd like to ask the first to come up. Becky Boomer Schlegel, if you could please join me. You're going to run for office, aren't you? Okay. Well, before I read you the proclamation, it's truly an honor to present this to Becky. I still call her Miss Becky because many of you probably know her as Miss Becky's Salsa Shack, or the salsa lady. And she's a fixture at our Wildwood Farmers Markets. So if you haven't been there, I encourage you to stop by and visit. And she always has samples available. She knows she can count on me for some samples, but she's wonderful. She's someone that truly cares about our city. She has done some amazing things for someone who's a small business. She has helped to bring the business community together. She has reached out to all the local businesses, and I'm not talking just about brick and mortar, but also those home-based businesses. She's trying to build a community together, and this is something that she's doing without any compensation, truly out of her heart. So I recognize Becky for this. So it's with great honor that we recognize her today, and I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas the city of Wildwood is strengthened by residents who dedicate their time, talents, and compassion towards building a stronger and more connected community, and whereas Becky Boomer Schlegel, affectionately known throughout the community as Miss Becky, has demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to serving the residents, businesses, and civic life of Wildwood. And whereas the owner of Miss Becky's Salsa Shack, Becky has built a local business that has become a familiar and celebrated presence at the Wildwood Farmers Market and community events, sharing her entrepreneurial spirit, her creativity, passion with residents and visitors alike. Whereas Becky has proudly created a salsa inspired and named after Wildwood, while also giving back to the community through charitable contributions connected to her business. Whereas Becky has partnered with the Wildwood YMCA Adaptive Garden Program, supporting opportunities that enrich the lives of individuals with disability and promote inclusion, dignity, and community engagement. Whereas Becky has further demonstrated her commitment to inclusion by creating meaningful opportunities for others, including providing employment and encouragement to individuals with disabilities through her business and community activities. Whereas Becky currently serves on the City of Wildwood Master Plan Citizen Oversight Group, contributing her time and insight towards helping guide the future vision, growth, and long-term planning of the city for generations to come. And whereas Miss Becky, whereas Becky has played a vital role in strengthening Wildwood's local business community through the formation and leadership of Businesses of Wildwood, helping bring entrepreneurs and business owners together to collaborate, support one another, share ideas, and foster stronger community connections. And whereas Becky's energy, positivity, compassion, and servant leadership embody the very spirit of community involvement and civic pride that continue to move the city of Wildwood forward, I, therefore, Joe Garitano, Mayor of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, do hereby recognize and honor Becky Boomer Schlegel for outstanding contributions to the Wildwood community, her dedication to service, her support of local businesses, inclusive initiatives, and her continued efforts to make Wildwood a stronger, more connected, and more compassionate community. Congratulations.
Give you a hug.
Okay. Thank you so much. I was hoping I could share a few words. I have a tendency to be long-winded, so I apologize in advance. I want to sincerely thank the City of Wildwood and Mayor Joe Garitano for this recognition and for supporting small businesses and community connection in meaningful ways. What started as making and selling salsa became something so much bigger. It became a vehicle for connection, collaboration, partnerships, and purpose. One of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes is, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And that has deeply shaped how I move through both business and life. I believe it's often the little things, the intentional moments, the encouragement, the introductions, the creative acts of support that make the biggest impact. My hope has always been to help others feel seen, heard, and valued, no matter how big or small the moment may seem. To create meaningful connections, to be intentional, and to use my business as a way to support, inspire, and lift others up. This recognition means so much because it reflects something far greater than salsa. It reflects the power of connection, collaboration, and choosing to show up for others. Success becomes so much more meaningful when it becomes a bridge for others. So I'd simply encourage each of us, use what you have wherever you are to make a difference, build the partnership, start the conversation, and open that door. Shout out to my husband for his support and his patience, lots of it, and my parents for instilling in me values of hard work and service. And to my sister Denise, who's above, thank you for shaping my heart, my purpose, and the way I choose to show up for others. To my friends, thank you for cheering me on, showing up, and reminding me why relationships matter so much. And to this incredible small business community, thank you for your collaboration, partnerships, encouragement, and willingness to lift one another up. So much of what I've been able to do has happened because of the relationships and shared belief that we're stronger when we support each other. If I could leave you with one challenge tonight, it would be this. Changing the narrative starts when we stop asking who should do something and start asking, what can I do? What does it really mean to support community? Is it simply attending events or cheering from the sidelines? Or is it something deeper? Maybe it means choosing collaboration over competition, making an introduction that helps someone else grow, shopping local even when it's not always the most convenient option, volunteering your time, mentoring someone just getting started, reaching out to that person who feels unseen, saying yes to partnerships that create something bigger than any one of us could do alone. Supporting community doesn't have to mean grand gestures. Often it's the smallest intentional acts that create the greatest ripple effect. So you might ask yourself, how can I use what I have? My time, my talents, my connections, my business, my voice, to help someone else feel acknowledged, encouraged, and empowered. Because when we shift our perspective from what can I build for myself to how can what I build help others, that's when meaningful change happens. So I'd also like to take just a very quick moment. I want to again thank all my friends and family for being here. But I'd like to take this opportunity for special recognition for two people that I think are pretty amazing. Diana and Adam in the back, owners of Lucky Dog. Please give them applause. They are they own an incredible business, and they've built an amazing community. And unfortunately, they'll be closing their doors next Friday. We met 5 years ago, Diana and I, and we actually met at a WBA or Wildwood Business Association meeting before. It was no more. It was the only one that Diana actually went to. And we were told that we needed to sponsor an event. So Diane had the brick and mortar and I had the food. And we became fast friends. We did an event and we developed a friendship. And then they changed their business model to a pet store to a beautiful dog cafe. And they invited me to make my product in their kitchen for free. They knew I traveled to Fenton to use a commercial kitchen, I usually was on the road by about 4:15 so I could be there the week of a farmer's market making salsa. And they allowed me to come and work in their kitchen for free, and I was 10 minutes from home. It's been absolutely amazing. And I have to tell you, they jumped through countless hoops to make that happen. It wasn't just kind of a snap of the fingers. They went to 4 or 5 different city council planning and zoning meetings to rezone their business to accommodate the opportunity for me to use their kitchen as a commissary and be able to sell my chips and salsa. If that isn't love and support and community, I don't know what is. Cheers, you guys. Congratulations to your next chapter.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Becky, and great to see you. I do also want to recognize, I saw Miss Kelly here somewhere. Oh, there she is. And she helps and works with Miss Becky. So good to see you. I just wanted to recognize you over there. She was very excited to get up here. Well, now I get to present one more proclamation that I'd like to ask Todd Perry to please come forward here. And so some of you may know him, and through the work that he does, he is the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of the Pujols Family Foundation. But it's amazing, and he's a Wildwood resident. It is amazing the work that they do in the community here. It's amazing the tie that we have tonight here with all the things that we've been talking about, how they are all connected. But Todd, I got to know him several years ago, and I'll tell you, this gentleman here is like a saint. The work that he does, he just got back about a week or two ago, being down in the Dominican on a medical trip. He does several of these, and he does several trips where they go into different communities and help out those that are less fortunate. And then the amazing work that takes place here to improve the inclusivity for those, especially with Down syndrome and disabilities, whether it's in Wildwood or throughout the St. Louis region, is just impactful. And he also likes to do that where we have activities here in Wildwood, where it's programs at the R&R Ranch or the Wildwood YMCA. So it's with great honor that I get to present this proclamation to recognize another outstanding individual and role model in our community. So if you may, I'd like to read this. Whereas the city of Wildwood is privileged to call David Todd Perry, one of our own, a resident whose life work embodies compassion, faith, humility, and selfless service. And whereas Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Pujols Family Foundation, Todd has tirelessly led efforts to uplift individuals with Down syndrome and disabilities, helping to create opportunities, experiences, support systems that positively impact the countless lives throughout Wildwood and the greater St. Louis region. And through the Foundation's mission of faith, family, and others, Todd has helped foster a culture of inclusivity, dignity, compassion, and hope for families and individuals of all abilities. Whereas Todd's leadership is grounded in genuine humility, spirituality, and unwavering dedication to serving others and strengthening the community around them. Whereas Todd's partnership with local organizations, including R&R Ranch Minis and the Wildwood YMCA, has enriched the lives of countless families while creating meaningful opportunities for connection, growth, and inclusion right here in Wildwood. Whereas Todd's early collaboration with Albert Pujols, a former Wildwood resident, helped lay the foundation for an organization that has now served the community for more than 2 decades. Whereas Todd's character, kindness, servant leadership, and genuine care for others makes him the kind of community member and role model we all aspire to be. Now, therefore, I, Joe Garitano, Mayor of the City of Wildwood, do hereby recognize and honor David Todd Perry for his unwavering dedication, leadership, compassion, and service, for the extraordinary impact he continues to make in the lives of individuals and families throughout our community and beyond. Congratulations.
City Council. Tuesday marked 21 years since I was sitting at Albert's kitchen table saying, what if? Albert has a daughter. She's now 29 years old with Down syndrome. It's his oldest child. And she was really the catalyst of something that we thought we could do in 2005 to change the conversation, not just within the Down syndrome community, but also within the entire developmental disability community. And most of you know, Albert grew up in poverty in the Dominican Republic. So that was something else that we discussed at that kitchen table. How can we do more to help people who are living in abject poverty where he came from? So that was the mission. And it's interesting because during the pandemic, when we were all shut down, I was cleaning out our basement and actually found that original proposal that I put together for Albert and Dee Dee 20-something years ago. And it was interesting that I was looking at it, and there were several things that we talked about. I wanted them to know, and a couple of goals that I had in there. And one of those goals was that I thought that when we were fully grown, when we were hitting on all cylinders, fully mature as an organization, as a charity, we need to be doing an event a month. We need to be doing 12 events a year, and somehow or another, we're going to be able to reach that goal. And it's just so humbling that that was my goal, because what God did through this foundation is we currently do over 100 events for people with Down syndrome in the St. Louis area. And I mean, I was hoping we would do 12, but this is what happens when God blesses something and the community supports it. And I thank you. I thank every one of you. I think everyone who supports the foundation over the last 20 years, everyone who believes in the work we do, the people that we serve. City Council, Mayor Joe, thank you so much for believing in us and continuing to support us. As Mayor Joe said, Albert, and a lot of you don't know this, but even when he went to California, for that entire 10 years, he kept his house here. Wildwood was his home. He kept a house, he paid taxes. This was his residence. And I would guarantee you that right now, if you said, where's home, Albert? Well, he's from the Dominicans. He might say that, but Wildwood is his St. Louis home. So anyway, I'm very humbled. I'm grateful. Thank you so much for this honor. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, we're going to resume to the next part of the agenda for tonight's meeting. We'll have the public participation. So an approval of the minutes will be part of the consent agenda. So for public participation, we do ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes and make sure that you fill out a speaker card and provide it to the city clerk seated at the left of the podium. When your name is called, approach the podium, state your name and ward. And to ensure all that wish to speak, please keep your comments to 5 minutes, and I'll let you know as you approach that time. If you have any questions for us, please mention that during your remarks and identify the official you would like to respond. The official will make note of it, and at the conclusion of public participation, any official who chooses to respond will have 3 minutes to do so. The official may choose to respond to your questions after tonight's meeting. I ask you to please be respectful in making your remarks. Interrupting others and using profane and abusive language are prohibited. I want to thank everyone in advance for following these guidelines. First speaker, please.
Glenn DeHart wishes to comment on bridge expansion.
Okay, so the speaker had to leave. We'll move on to the next one.
Nabil Kabibi wants to speak about utility lighting at Bank of Houston.
Okay, please come forward, Mr. Kababi. You could just state your name and ward for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Nabil Kababi. I believe I'm Ward 7 and my house, and I'm also the CEO of the Bank of Houston, which is in Ward 4. I just didn't know if the city council was aware of the situation I'm facing, because I don't believe the mayor was, based upon a conversation, an email thread. So, I guess to start, we purchased the property in about 2 years ago. And I moved all my staff from Chesterfield to the vacant Reliance Bank branch, right at West Glen Farms in Manchester. At the time that I bought the building, we were going through the construction process, and I found that the city's lights on the perimeter of the property were on my electric. So I turned them off. And I emailed Tom Lee and then the old city administrator, I can't remember his name, but petitioned them to move the circuit so that I wouldn't be paying the electric bill for the lights for the city. At that time, they told me no. And I just kind of let it go, and I haven't turned the lights on since. Apparently, I believe the city might have hired new personnel in the maintenance department. That gentleman came to the bank 4 or 5 months ago, asked if he could take a look around, told me he was investigating the lights. So I told him exactly what happened. The lights are on my electric. I turned them off. He said, well, the reason I'm here is I found the email thread. I want to investigate. He told me that he was going to ask for the city to pay to have them moved, because those were my two options: pay for the electric bill or pay $35,000 to move the electric to the city's box. And yes, we're a bank, but we're a small bank. We're a small community bank from Houston, Missouri. We're a de novo, basically. We're 6 years into our business life. So the expense of $35,000 was not something I was willing to take. So he told me he was going to do this, and he told me it would be this month. And I asked if I could come to the meeting, and he said yes. Approximately a month ago, he emailed me and said, sorry, the dates were wrong. Do you mind turning the lights back on? And I, again, stated no. I found what I believe to be the ordinance that kind of fixes any development that was created before the city took responsibility for the lights. And it says that, summarizing in layman's terms, that I may turn the lights on in lieu of paying to move the circuit. So I read that as I don't have to. My bigger issue is that I don't believe that the residents of Wildwood or the people of this council are aware that there are 4 or 5 businesses that are paying the electric bill of the city of Wildwood, because whatever group that met to discuss this said that they didn't want to make it their problem. Also in that meeting, and I feel bad even saying this after the awards that were just given, one of the council members said, I hate to lose another business over this. So to me, the businesses, try to get dinner out here on a Friday. There's nowhere to go. The Lucky Dog Cafe is closing. It's a very difficult business environment. And then the city, in my humble opinion, makes it more difficult by pushing the burden of an electric bill onto its citizens. So I don't know if there will be comment on this, but I didn't know if you guys were aware. I think it's somewhat unfair. I think it's also, it's my problem, but it wasn't my problem. There was some development plan when that building was built 30 years ago that no one told me about when I purchased it.
1 minute.
So I at some point would like to work with the city on a draft of a plan to have the city take ownership of those, take financial responsibility, whether it be some sub-circuit or moving the circuit completely. But I don't think it's fair to ask private residents to pay the city's utility bills. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Tom Mitchell wishes to speak about the investigation on the matter of confusion in Deer.
Hi, I'm Tom Mitchell, Ward 3. Fantastic presentation, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that. I think last time I was here, maybe 2 meetings ago, I said how warm and fuzzy I feel at these meetings sometimes. And then I look underneath and it's scary. And I hope to let you know I'm kind of serious about this, that I'm actually going to write a Netflix pilot called The Council. Joe Paskey has agreed to play your part. I think you do a good job. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Scott Ottenberg. And Joe Farmer, don't take this the wrong way, but Darth Vader's applied. Okay, that's my funnies. Look, I love this city. I've lived here all my life. I've worked here. I've come through here. Used to work at Hellwig's when I was a kid back in Chesterfield. And you brought something up in your State of the City talk. The first thing you said was preserve nature. And very disappointed in Miss Dodwell for already bringing White Buffalo back. I'm not surprised. I understand that this is politics. I didn't expect it up here. I don't get involved in politics. I'm surprised by it. I'm disappointed in it. And it's not necessary because the council hasn't even moved forward on this deer hunting program. It was delayed by 4 months on purpose by accident by the committee. And now you're already proposing to bring White Buffalo back. I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for calling that out of order because it was indeed out of order. The other point you brought up, Mr. Mayor, was about the budget. Look, there's $600,000 sitting in a coffer to use to kill deer at $900 per head, maybe more than that. Take that $600,000 and put it towards some of these other things. Draw business in. You know, I'm getting calls from radio stations. I do radio interviews for my business, and they ask me about Wildwood. And I don't want to use the expletives they use, but they say, what the blank is wrong with Wildwood? It's embarrassing. It's not necessary. It's what's out in the public. There's an article right now in West News Magazine about this ridiculous meeting that was held where half the council boycotted it, including the mayor. So that's the politics part. And you're speaking in this code language. What was the language I used for my topic? Investigation of confusion. Confusion. That's the internal memo I saw. You're using that language to communicate with one another on the investigation of confusion when we all know that you want to unvalidate and overturn the election of Tim Comer. You want to invalidate his election and throw him out. You want to go against the voters in Ward 8. For what? For a technicality? When in fact, there's a technicality with your own city administrator. He doesn't live in Wildwood. You want me to bring that up and bring that up to a disqualification? You're supposed to come in every 6 months and approve his ability to live where he lives and not in Wildwood. Should we bring that up in a special meeting? It's not necessary. Let's move forward, as Joe Garitano said, work in cooperation. You said opportunities are in front of us. The opportunity you have, and I'll boil it down again to this ridiculous deer management issue. Every day I'm reminded of it when I see no deer on Shepherd Road. You've killed all the deer on Shepherd Road at $900 per head. The opportunity in front of you is to use the resources that I and my team have presented to you for the Wildwood Deer Initiative. And I encourage the citizens of Wildwood to get on Facebook and follow our public open group, the Wildwood Deer Initiative. Because quite frankly, it should be rebranded the Wildwood Freedom Initiative.
1 minute.
Because that's what's happened in the city. Certain members of this council are taking freedom away from the citizens, making the city look bad throughout the St. Louis area. And it's known. It's embarrassing. Stop embarrassing yourself. Stop embarrassing your colleagues and stop insulting the intelligence of the people of this community. Thank you.
Right. I do ask, one thing I do ask is to hold any applause because that interrupts the speakers that are ahead and we have a number. So next speaker, please.
Lynn Link wishes to comment about number 1, council members, and number 2, data centers.
Okay, so just Lynn Link, Ward 6. Almost 250 years ago, the creators of our great nation made the extraordinary effort and sacrifice to overthrow tyranny and establish a nation charged with protection of our self-evident inalienable rights and privileges. Since that time, countless men and women have served and sacrificed to ensure that today we can still enjoy these rights and privileges. During a time of great division at the site of the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, referring to our nation, Lincoln concluded, "A government for the people, by the people, shall not perish from the earth. A government for the people, by the people, is achieved only through the will of her people via the election process, which again has been afforded to us by the sacrifice of many. When voters feel disenfranchised, it makes the sacrifice required throughout our history to ensure our right to vote seem in vain. Transparency can help rebuild trust. I'm sure many citizens have questions about Thursday's special council meeting. With regard to that, I assume what is the subject of this ethics investigation. I would like to disclose that on or about April 14th, 2026, on Nextdoor, there was a post about the local election. A local resident, in what clearly was an attempt to publicly shame the subject of this investigation, commented, giving specific details on what appears to be both the subject of the substance of the alleged ethics violation. After I immediately screenshot the comments and sent it to the author of the post quickly was taken down to stop the spread of what I assume is protected information. As I believe that the commenter is neither an employee or an elected official of the city of Wildwood, and the information regarding the substance of the alleged violation is not information that is available through public access, it must be assumed that they received the information from someone who is associated with the city's investigation. As there are confidentiality laws which apply to ethics violations investigations, I would ask that the city immediately investigate this. I've contacted the Missouri Ethics Commission, who advised me to contact the Missouri Attorney General's office with regard to a potential sunshine law violation. There are several questions which could be answered without disclosing protected subject matter on the investigation to help quash the public suspicion that this is an unwarranted retaliatory action. Perhaps the city could bring clarity to why our city would pay a stated $15,000 or more for Mr. Engelman to act as a special prosecutor. Obviously, our city attorney's office has already been made aware of this alleged ethical conflict. Is it possible the city can disclose what their legal opinion was regarding the proceeding with this investigation, redacting the identifying information? In Gonzales, the United States Supreme Court recently confirmed victims of retaliatory behavior by public officials, in this case, a former council member, can sue individual municipal employees and elected officials directly. Section 67.165(1) of the revised statutes of Missouri specifies that immunity is not granted to government employees or officials if the act or omission is involved is willful or wanton conduct. With our city's past history, can we please confirm that the city and our citizens will not bear the burden of the cost of legal defense of employees or officials if they are later individually named as defendants in a lawsuit alleging unwarranted or willful retaliatory behavior? Congratulations to all the newly elected council members. How we treat others with compassion and respect, or the absence of it, shows who we are as individuals. Your behavior as council members will reflect who we are as a community. Your vote will shape our municipality and how it looks in the future long after you leave office. I would ask that all council members continually ask themselves, does my vote reflect my opinion, or does it reflect the majority opinion of those I represent? Thank you.
All right, thank you. I did ask again.
I'm sorry, who should I give the information to regarding the investigation? I have documents that will help identify who it was.
You could leave any documents with the city clerk.
Okay.
I do again ask, if you continue to disrupt the meeting, I will ask you to please leave the room. So please consider this a warning here. We're going to continue. Next speaker.
Christy Pitney wants to thank Deb McCutcheon.
Christy Pitney, Ward 5. I'm a big Deb McCutcheon fan. Deb was such a strong supporter of the residents of Ward 5 for so many years. She was a true representative of the people, genuinely caring about residents' needs and opinions. I worked with her closely when a proposal was made to extend Pond Grover Loop through to Highway 100, and then again when I served as a subdivision trustee, and our many interactions and conversations over the years were always focused on what was best for residents. She knew our ward backward and forward, going door to door during election cycles and really listening to what people were saying. The people of Ward 5 were truly her priority, and I felt as though she always had our back. Thanks for serving us so well, Deb. Enjoy your retirement.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cheryl Houston, she wants to comment about Deb McCutcheon's completing her service on council.
Cheryl Houston, Ward 5. Deborah Bill also extends his gratitude. I have to say that when we moved to Wildwood in 1995, we had no idea what kind of community we were coming into, as it was just in its infancy. And we lived way out in the boonies, way, way out. And we decided to go into a subdivision, and I moved right down the street from Deborah. And so when we moved on Birch Forest, we had our noses to the grindstone, building a family, building our lives, building our careers. But Deborah took the time to teach us that we had a responsibility and a right, and we could get involved in our community. She was always sharing what was going on. When she got involved, she shared with us that we not only had a voice, but that our voices really mattered. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We could have put our heads in the ground and just let things go where they were, but you just wouldn't stand for that. And you taught us that you represented our voice and that we could also represent ourselves and affect change. So thank you so much for all your service.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bets Vanderhagen wants to speak about Deb McCutcheon completing her service on council.
Good evening. My name is Bets Vanderhagen, and I'm in Ward 5. Good evening, Mayor Gaetano and council members. I have to say that this is where I learned that acting locally can make a difference, just to start with that. Deborah McCutcheon took her role to represent us in Ward 5 very seriously, always listened to residents and kept us informed about issues affecting our ward and the entire city. We spent years attending meetings with her on how the property that became Brightleaf was developed. She helped us navigate planning and zoning and city council meetings, which preserved the peace and quiet of our neighborhood street on Birch Forest. And I bet our neighbors on Brightleaf Court appreciate our success in making their block a dead end. Together, we engaged residents and successfully prevented the building of a road behind existing residents' homes on Hickory Crest and Sandalwood Pines Drive. That permanent green space is now the home of Green Pines Park, providing a walkable option for families to enjoy a beautiful playground. Deb has worked tirelessly on erosion control along the creeks in Ward 5. There are many more ways that Deborah was an advocate for us. We are grateful to her for being a dedicated and thoughtful representative for our ward. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Bridget Fisher wants to speak about Turnberry Place and Stricker Road.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Fisher. I'm a resident of Ward 2. On behalf of the residents of Turnberry Place Drive, I'd like to thank you all for your support in keeping our neighborhood safe. It has truly meant a lot to us. We feel safe, our kids are playing, and we're really enjoying it. After working tirelessly over the last year, we look forward to finalizing this issue for good in the coming months and appreciate your support in doing so. If there is anything the residents of Turnberry Place can do to assist, please do not hesitate to reach out. Again, thank you for your time and support.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Niall Stevens wants to comment about the special meeting.
Hi, Niall Stevens, Ward 8. So I'm here tonight to ask the council to reconsider the vote from last week's special meeting on investigating issues surrounding the charter section 3.6 and judging the qualifications of one of your new colleagues, the candidate-elect Tim Comer. And I'm just asking that you don't waste some taxpayer money on this investigation. So it's my understanding that it has to do with the Ward 8 candidate and his candidate declaration form. And that city policy mirrors the state level. And so at the state level, the statutes say that if a candidate declares they're eligible to serve and it turns out later that they have an unpaid parking ticket and they owe the state money and therefore their declaration form is wrong, they are not automatically kicked off the ballot and they're not banned from serving. The Department of Revenue gives them 30 days to pay any money owed, and then everybody can move on with their lives. And so I think that that type of protocol seems reasonable for a municipal election as well. And so rather than hiring a lawyer to investigate and spend tax dollars to remove a newly elected council member, the taxpayers would really appreciate a little grace and understanding by the council, and also just follow the state statute. And if there is more to the story, and one of your members has done something that is worthy of a dismissal, then just use your power and authority that you already have, and 2/3 of you can remove one of your members without, again, spending the taxpayers not spending $15,000 for the legal process. So we already have a city attorney that's paid by the city, and he's going to protect the city from any unjust dismissal. So if you try to do something out of bounds, he'll tell you. And we don't need an extra attorney for what appears to be politics that doesn't serve the public. So I want to thank you to the 7 council members and the mayor who declined to attend the special meeting last week. As the mayor said during his State of the City, it is your duty to maintain fiscal responsibility for the taxpayers as costs continue to rise. As Miss Becky said, she stated very eloquently that it's collaboration and encouragement and partnerships that build a community. So I'm just asking that you consider a reconsider of your vote from last week and use this time to help your new colleague and your new council member get up to speed rather than starting investigations against him and spending taxpayer money to do so. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker.
There are no more speakers.
Okay, then moving on, we'll now with the end of public participation. We do not have any public hearings. We'll move into legislation. First item under legislation is a unfinished business, and the first item under that is Bill 3053. Director Vunich, do you wish to speak, or you want to have a motion right now for second
Mr.
reading?
Mayor, I will defer to the city attorney, but with the action at work session, the department is respectfully requesting this matter be postponed.
Okay, seeing that, can I get a motion for postponement of Bill 3053? Made by Councilmember Kranz, seconded by Councilmember Nyan. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? Okay, moving on, there is nothing under new business, nothing on the first readings from hearings with favorable city recommendation. Resolutions will be part of the consent agenda. We are now moving on to the consent agenda, and we will seek for approval of the consent agenda unless anyone objects to any of the items being part of the consent agenda. Is there anyone that opposes the consent agenda as it is? All right, seeing none, then can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, made by Councilmember Bockert? Is there a second? Made by Councilmember Ottenberg. The motion is on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, moving on, then we will move on to, let's see. All right, miscellaneous, and if not, then we'll go into the swearing in ceremony. So at this time, I'd like to ask those council members that are scheduled to be sworn in to please step down, and then those that recently were certified as winners of the election to please come forward for the swearing-in ceremony. And the city clerk will be providing you with an oath. So take a moment to take a look at that oath. You will all recite the oath at the same time. So other than your name, I think the rest of the oath is the same.
Repeat after me.
Yeah, and you'll follow, repeat after the city clerk.
Harder. I know you're. No, why I would with you. Congratulations. All right, congratulations again to all the council members that have been sworn in for the next term for our city council. And as one wise person once told me, you are now the government. So all your complaints, you can speak to yourself. Well, anyway, we are now going to adjourn, and then we will take a momentary break. I am going to ask all the council members that have been sworn in and those that will continue serving to please come up on the dais. We're going to get a photo of this next group. We're going to pause for at least 10 minutes. There are refreshments? There are refreshments available. Where? In the foyer. So if you want to pause and take a moment and get some refreshments, please help yourself. And again, we're pausing now for about 10 minutes or so we can get a photo. So again, all new council members, please come up to take a photograph. First session of the council meeting. Made by Councilmember Rambo. Is there a second? Made by Councilmember Farmer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Already here, we're going to get started with the second session. Thank you, everyone. All right, welcome to the second session of the council. We will begin now. It is 8:02, and we'll start with a roll call.
Mayor Garitano,
Here.
Councilmember Roblewski. Here. Councilmember Trottier,
Here.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Means.
Here.
Councilmember Bockert, Councilmember Bockert,
Present.
Councilmember Crayons.
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
There they come.
Here.
Councilmember Albers,
There you go.
Councilmember Owen,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Nyan,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Councilmember Vanek, Councilmember Comer.
Here.
All right, thank you. If you can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move forward to the next part of the agenda, which is public participation. Do we have any speaker cards?
No, not for this.
Okay, so last call, if we do have any speakers that wish to speak either in the room or online, this would be the time. Okay, then moving on, we're going to go into mayor's appointments and council elections. So in accordance with the city charter and established council procedures, the following appointments and elections are presented for city council recognition and their action. A, Mayor Pro Tempore. Elected by the council. As required annually, the city council shall elect one of its members to serve as mayor pro tempore. This individual shall assume the duties of mayor when the mayor is unavailable. We'll seek a nomination at this time. Councilmember Mabry. All right, any other nominations? Councilmember Krantz.
I'll nominate Scott Ottenberg.
All right, any other nominations? Okay, the way this will work is we'll do a roll call, but instead of the typical yes or no or yay and nay vote, you'll actually just state the name. We have two nominations on the floor. Just state the name and our city clerk will keep track of the number of times that that name is mentioned. So whenever you're ready.
Councilmember Roblewski,
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Councilmember Trottier,
Councilmember Ottenberg.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Farmer,
Can I abstain? Do I have to vote for myself or Scott?
You can abstain. There's no legal requirement that you do.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain.
Can I,
Chris Mean, or excuse me, Councilmember Means.
can I also abstain?
Yes.
Again, there's no obligation that you do, but you can.
Okay, Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Bockert,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Crayons,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Albers,
Joe Farmer.
Councilmember Owen,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Mabry,
Joe Farmer.
Councilmember Nyan,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Dodwell,
Joe Farmer.
Councilmember Marshall,
Joe Farmer.
Councilmember Rambo,
Joe Farmer.
Councilmember Vanek,
Scott Ottenberg.
Councilmember Comer.
Scott Ottenberg.
Scott Ottenberg has 10.
Okay, so Councilmember Ottenberg will be selected as mayor pro tempore. Congratulations.
Mr. Mayor.
Moving on.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Briefly, I would just like to extend my appreciation to Councilmember Farmer for his service as mayor pro tem for the past couple of years.
Thank you, and thank you again for your service. Moving on, city council liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission elected by the council. The council shall also elect one of its members to serve as liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This role serves as a communication link between the council and the commission. We did get one nomination already by email for Councilmember Marshall. So do we have any others that wish to serve as the city council liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Okay, we still have the roll. Yeah. Okay, well, seeing that there is no one else that is seeking that position, the only person that is expressed interest is Councilmember Marshall. The city attorney has advised we do not have to do a roll call, and therefore, congratulations. You will continue to serve in that role. Oh, we still have to have a vote. Okay, sorry about that. So, yeah. Okay, so therefore, since we have a nomination on the floor, all those in favor, please say aye. Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, moving on, mayor membership with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Per the city charter, the mayor serves as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. This does not require council action, but is noted for transparency, and I will continue to serve as that member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Moving on, council standing committee assignments appointed by mayor. Pursuant to council custom and city practice, the mayor assigned council members to the 3 standing committees: Administration and Public Works, Planning and Parks, and Economic Development. Also, city council committee liaisons appointed by the mayor: Historic Preservation Commission and Architectural Review Board, and council committee members with the Board of Public Safety and Wildwood Celebration Commission. So we do require votes for, or city council approval for the Board of Public Safety and Wildwood Celebration Commission. I do want to thank again everyone that's been serving in the committees at this time. In selecting the committees, I looked at trying to balance the workload of the council members. Some of you have taken on additional meetings over the past year, so I've tried to lighten that up for you. And some of you have not been able to fully serve as many committees, and so therefore you'll have more committees this year. But also an opportunity to adjust the membership of the committees so that we have opportunities, new opportunities for most folks. And typically, most committees will have about 2 people to serve that they previously served for continuity purposes. So therefore, appreciate your service there. We don't need any vote for the committee assignments, right? Just the Board of Public Safety and Wildwood Celebration Commission. Right?
Because the charter. There should be.
Okay, is there any objection?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Matt is listed as both admin, public works, and parks and planning.
There are several people that are serving in those, since all 3 standing committees.
I know, but so I guess the question is Mr. Trottier on both admin, PW, and parks and planning, and Mr. Mabry is not on either? I'm just asking.
That is correct. Mr. Mabry would be on the other standing committee, Economic Development.
I thought you had to be on one or the other.
I guess
Yeah, we've done that before. Those are the 3 standing committees, and there just has to be 1 representative from each ward.
on this thing. That's fine. I'm just asking, just making sure.
Okay. Yeah, we have several instances like that. It's not just Ward 2, but also Ward 6 and Ward 8. Well,
Okay.
actually, Ward 6. Okay, so therefore, no objection to that. We'll move forward. We are going into public hearings. So we have a first public hearing on the agenda tonight.
Read it.
So can we get a motion to open the public hearing? Yes, absolutely.
PZ 01-26, City of Wildwood Planning and Zoning Commission, in care of the Department of Planning, Wildwood City Hall, 16860 Main Street, Wildwood, Missouri, 63040. A request to consider amendments to Chapter 415 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Wildwood to regulate and restrict the use of land for operation of facilities commonly referred to as information technology and data processing facilities or data centers, and establishing specific performance standards to address potential adverse impacts. including noise pollution, utility infrastructure demands, visual aesthetics, and environmental footprints, and other matters relating to the general health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city and other matters related thereto.
Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission has prepared for your consideration tonight its letter of recommendation regarding the request that was just read into the record by the city clerk. I'm sure, as you know, you pretty much can't turn on the television, go to social media, or pick up a newspaper and not hear about the controversies relating to data centers and their locations, not only across the metropolitan area, but the state of Missouri and the country. The city of Wildwood does not have a data center application before it. However, our citizens oversight group that's working on the master plan had discussed this at length and recommended that the city be proactive in its approach and begin the discussion of new regulations to govern data centers. The regulations that are being proposed tonight are part of the M3 Planned Industrial District, and that district can only be applied in the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley. In principle, larger tracts of land anywhere else in the city, those primarily zoned NU non-urban resident district, are now protected from data center applications. If you're familiar with the Wildwood portion of the Chesterfield Valley, it has been industrial zone since 1970. That was done by St. Louis County in conjunction with the development of the Spirit of St. Louis Airport, and is in many ways the appropriate location if a data center application were to be considered. However, as part of the list of uses under conditional requirements, not only would there be a site-specific ordinance for such, but a conditional use permit to provide that extra layer of protection. Additionally, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a number of performance standards to ensure that lighting, noise, groundwater use, traffic, etc., would be all controlled within the confines of the network of roads and utilities so as not to burden them or harm the environment. So tonight before you is the report from the Planning and Zoning Commission in support of new regulations in the industrial district relative to data centers. Mr. Mayor, after public comment, the department will be available to answer any questions. And I would note again that Mr. Marshall and Mayor Garitano are part of our Planning and Zoning Commission and certainly can provide background as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Vunich. Now that we have declare the public hearing open, do we have any speakers?
We have one, Lynn Link.
All right, please come forward and state your name. And as a reminder, please keep your comments to 5 minutes. We'll let you know as you approach that time.
Lynn Link, Ward 6. I want to thank the city for preemptively attempting to mitigate the well-documented dangers of that data centers pose for our citizen and our shared environment. Certainly with regard to environmental concerns, with the thousands of acres of public lands Wildwood is entrusted to protect, we have more at risk within our borders than any other municipality in St. Louis County. Additionally, we still have many residents on wells, and we have more citizens who therefore would be more at risk of having their aquifers dried up, or that the well water is depleted to the point where it increases the dangerous toxins caused by the massive water consumption. Almost all data centers received corporate welfare in the form of tax incentives and subsidies and abatements from federal, state, and local governments. Perhaps the best way to ensure that these companies don't risk the health of our citizens and our shared fragile environment is for our municipality to commit to not giving the richest companies on the planet a financial incentive to do so. In prior planning and zoning hearings on this matter, our legal counsel gave the opinion that non-disclosure agreements that officials from other areas have entered into concerning data center developments could be a violation of the Sunshine Law. The city should make sure that all employees and elected officials are aware of this. When citizens and municipalities come together to say no to the dangerous effects of data centers, it forces these companies that are the richest entities in the world to actually invest in technology that makes them less harmful to humans and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? All right. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak online? If you are attending via Zoom, please use the raise hand feature. And does not appear that we have anyone that has raised their hand thus far. Director Vunich, please go right ahead.
Again, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, if there are any questions regarding the information that's been presented tonight in report form or by the department in its presentation or Ms. Link, we'll be glad to try to answer them at this time. As you know, later in tonight's agenda, there is legislation prepared for first reading.
Okay, so this is an opportunity. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll look around the dais and certainly make note if you do wish to speak. I have Councilmember Dodwell and Councilmember Mabry. Please go ahead, Councilmember Dodwell.
Joe, I just want to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission for doing some due diligence on this effort. Having been in the IT industry for 35 years and probably still counting, it is something that we need to be very cognizant of how this can impact our environment, and also how we need to ensure that those entities that want to set up those kinds of data centers follow guidelines and regulations from the city of Wildwood that protects our environment that we've worked so hard to develop here. So thank you very much to the group as a whole.
With your permission, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Dowell, I'll certainly pass that on. Every once in a while, they like a pat on the back. They don't get them often. And the only thing I would say that the commission couldn't do, and the city attorney kind of stopped us, is we were hoping we could manage the electrical component, the grid, but we defer to state statute, which is the best we can do.
That being said, we need to individually reach out to the state as a whole so that we can ensure that there are some regulations around the use of the electrical grid and the costs that may be passed on to individuals versus those entities, as Ameren and others in the electrical companies go back for more revenue sources to support them.
Well said, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilmember Mabry. At this time, we'll entertain any questions. We'll then close the public hearing after that.
Thank you. Yes, please pass word to the Planning and Zoning Commission that the study was exhaustive and not necessarily a compliment. It just wore me out getting through it. I had a question, serious one though. I heard you refer to a CUP, but I didn't see any mention of anything. I'm not very familiar with special circumstances overlay districts yet. Is there anything in there that's a SCOD quality or provision that adds to the complexity?
For the most part, Mr. Young, correct me if I say something wrong or miss an item, but anything in the special circumstance overlay districts, underlying regulations can be carried over to the plan district, the M3, or the conditional use permit. So the protections that might be provided there, we can emulate in those two zoning tools. And I would note that the special circumstances overlay district was really more about once a data center closes and leaves a mess, that's where we want to use it to clean it up first, make sure it's appropriate for whatever potential use that might follow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You earned your first dollar.
Okay. Do we have any other, anyone else that wishes to speak?
Thank you.
All right. So therefore, we will close the public hearing. Can I just get a motion to close the public hearing? Made by Councilmember Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Vanek. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? The public hearing is now closed. We'll move into legislation. First section in legislation is new business for, I'll just state a couple of things for the new council members tonight. New business means first readings. In first reading, we will seek for a first reading of the bill that's before in front of you. And then you may ask questions about the bill or seek more information, but there is no debate in the first reading. So it's just more informational. You do have the ability to vote either yes, yay, or nay, or abstain. And typically, we do look for opportunities where we can read sometimes several bills en masse for the sake of efficiency. Typically, the bills that we will pull out will either be because of the high dollar amount or something of significance that requires being read separately. So before us under new business, we have, I'd like to propose, and if there's any objection, please let me know. We have bills 3058, 3059, and 3060. If there's no objection, I'd like to have these three bills read en masse. So let me just take a look and see if anyone objects to read them en masse. I do not see anyone. So therefore, can I get a motion for the first reading of bills 3058, 3059, and 3060, made by Councilmember Ottenberg, seconded by Councilmember Trottier. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? All right, please go ahead and read those bills.
Bill 3058, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing a consolidation plat of a tract of land known as lots A and B of the 17011 Manchester Road subdivision, plat book 371, page 267, thereby creating a single new parcel of ground that is 22,422 square feet in size, which is located on the northeast corner of Manchester Road, historic Route 66, and Lindy Lane, and legally described as being situated within the southwest quarter of Section 1, Township 44 North, Range 3 East, and to be hereafter known as Manchester Divide Lot Consolidation Plat. Bill 3059, an ordinance of the city of Wildwood approving the record plat, trust indentures, general warranty deed, and a deposit agreement with associated letters of credit, which guarantee the required subdivision improvements for a 30-lot residential development that is to be located on a tract of land in the northwest quarter section of Section 1 and part of the northeast quarter section of Section 2, Township 44 North, Range 3 East of the 5th Principal Meridian, City of Wildwood, St. Louis County, Missouri, and more specifically situated on the northeast corner of the intersection of State Route 100 and State Route 109, hereafter to be known as Point at Brightleaf Subdivision. Bill 3060, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, reapproving a lot split plat for the division of a 5.86 acre tract of land into two lots located on the west side of Strecker Road at its intersection with Highland Summit Drive, which being a part of Section 19, Township 45 North, Range 4 East, and to be hereafter known as a lot split plat for 815 Strecker Road.
Director Voonis, do you have anything you wish to add?
Mr. Mayor, the first item, Manchester Divide, is the combination of two lots to create a single tract of land. Mr. Stewart would like to build his personal home there, and the department is respectfully requesting a second reading tonight. The second item relates to a Fisher Fricktill project that's located on an 8-acre tract of land located on the northeast corner of State Route 100 and State Route 109. This is the final step in the lengthy zoning process. With the plat approved and the other items authorized, the 30 lots that form the subdivision can be sold and transferred. And then finally, the last item is a lot split plat. This particular item was the subject of many discussions during latter part of 2025. The item was approved by City Council in October of 2025 between the survey company sending the Mylar to the lien holder out of state and just the work level of the city. We didn't make the 120-day timeframe, and it's back before you tonight for reapproval. And the department would respectfully request a second reading as well. If there are any questions regarding the three bills, the Department of Planning would be glad to answer them at this time.
Thank you, Director Vunich. So just to clarify, second readings are requested for bills 3058 and 3060?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we'll come back to that after we get this section completed as far as first readings. So
Thank you, sir.
again, the motion is on the floor. And again, just informational, typically by Robert's rules, we allow you to speak up to 2 times. So again, I'll look around to see if we have any speakers, and I'll make note of that and call on you. Councilmember Albers.
Yes. Mr. Vunich, the 3058 Lindy Road in Manchester is, okay, there's like a small white craftsman house there. Does the owner own all that property too?
I'm not aware of the ownership of the small house. I think it is. Mr. Stewart is here and maybe can shake his head, tell us if the wife.
Okay. I didn't know if they were all related. That's all I was wondering. Okay.
And Mr. Stewart's father built the house to the west on the 7-acre tract that adjoins Old Grover Estates. So they're putting roots down in town center.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have anyone else that has any questions or seeks clarification on any of the items? All right, well, seeing none, all those in favor, well, we already did a vote on that first reading, so. Yeah, so that way, these items will then come back, and we're going to revisit for the second reading shortly. I do have one more bill under first reading for the new business, and again, called this one out separately, just given the direct budgetary impact number. So can we get a motion for Bill 3061? Made by Councilmember Nye, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? Please go ahead and read Bill 3061.
Bill 3061, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, revising the budget for the City of Wildwood, Missouri for the fiscal year commencing on January 1, 2025 and ending on December 31, 2025.
All right, City Administrator Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. And just only one reading tonight. We're working through the audit now. We're currently looking to have a presentation back to the City Council in June or July. So just wanted to point that out, but only requesting one reading tonight. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions? Again, any clarification items regarding Bill 3061? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anyone oppose or abstain? All right, that bill will then come back at the next council meeting. So back to the request for second readings. We have before us a request for second reading of Bill 3058 and 3060. So is there anyone that wishes to make a motion for the second reading of the bill? Made by Councilmember Ottenberg. Is there a second? By Councilmember Marshall. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? All right. The bills are on the floor. Please go ahead and read the bills for the second time.
Bill 3058, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing a consolidation plat of a tract of land known as lots A and B of 17011 Manchester Road subdivision, plat book 371, page 267, thereby creating a single new parcel of ground that is 22,422 square feet in size, which is located on the northeast corner of Manchester Road, Historic Route 66, and Lindy Lane, and legally described as being situated within the southwest quarter, Section 1, Township 44 North, Range 3 East, and to hereafter be known as Manchester Divide Lot Consolidation Plat. Bill 3060, an ordinance of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, reapproving a lot split plat for the division of 5.86 acre tract of land into 2 lots located on the west side of Strecker Road, at its intersection with Highland Summit Drive, with such being a part of Section 19, Township 45 North, Range 4 East, and to be hereafter known as a lot split plat for 815 Strecker Road.
Director Vunich, thank you. Thank you, Colleen. And Director Vunich, please go right ahead if you have anything else you wish to add.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing to add, but if there are any questions, as you've had a few minutes to think about it, we'll do our best to answer them.
Does anyone have anything that they would like to ask or speak about these bills?
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, then again, for new council members, since this is a second reading, we will do a roll call for final passage.
Councilmember Roblewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Trottier,
Yes.
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Farmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Means,
Yes.
Councilmember Bockert,
Yes.
Councilmember Crayons.
Yes.
Councilmember Albers,
Yeah.
Councilmember Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Mabry,
Yes.
Councilmember Nyan. Yes. Councilmember Dodwell,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
Councilmember Rambo,
Yes.
Councilmember Vanek,
Yes.
Councilmember Comer.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Moving on to the next section of the agenda, first readings from hearings with favorable city recommendation. We have Bill 3062 for first reading. Is there anyone that wishes to make a motion for the first reading of Bill 3062? Made by Councilmember Ottenberg. Is there a second? Made by Councilmember Owen. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? All right, Colleen, please go ahead and read Bill 3062.
Bill 3062, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Wildwood, Missouri, authorizing changes to the Wildwood zoning ordinance, specifically Chapter 415.030, definitions, by the addition of 11 descriptions and by adding new requirements to Chapter 415.210 M-3 Planned Industrial District Regulations, Section E9, and Section F1, items A through F, all of which are to address information technology and data processing facility, commonly known as data centers, and their locations, operating parameters, and design components within this community in association with the industrial area of the city's master plan, such being consistent with the action of the Planning and Zoning Commission set forth in its letter of recommendation on the matter that is dated April 6th, 2026.
Director Vunich, do you have anything you wish to add?
Mr. Mayor, I do not. As you know, we held the public hearing a few minutes ago. If there are any questions, again, Mayor Garitano, Councilmember Marshall, Mr. Newberry, or I will be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or seek information?
Thank
Right.
you.
Seeing none, then this bill will be at the next meeting for a second reading. Resolutions are under the consent agenda. We'll move on to the consent agenda. And again, we use the consent agenda for efficiency, so we have several resolutions. If there's any objection to the consent agenda, please state so now. Otherwise, we'll seek for a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Is there anyone that wishes to make a motion? Made by Councilmember Ottenberg. Is there a second? Made by Councilmember Mabry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Councilmember, Director Vunich, please go right ahead.
I was getting ready for the next item.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I thought maybe you had something to add. All right, then moving on, we're into miscellaneous. So Director Vunich, I'll let you go ahead and speak to these two items.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and members of City Council, the Department of Planning received two items relating to the moratorium that's been in place since the beginning of the year regarding demolitions of historic assets. The first relates to the J.P. Connell House. Mr. Gruey, the owner of property, had requested reconsideration and another public hearing on this matter. I advised him after the discussion held at work session that for the most part, if we could delay this action until we get the lease agreement before our committee and city council, it would be appreciated, and he seemed fine with that. The second item relates to a waiver request that was received on the 11th hour of the deadline, and they are requesting a public hearing, and the department would respectfully ask for a motion and second to post this for public hearing in June.
All right, so anyone that wishes to make that motion, Councilmember Rambo. All right, is there a second? Made by Councilmember Dodwell. You have the motion, Colleen? You good? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain?
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, anything else under miscellaneous? Okay, moving on to adjournment. Can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Made by Councilmember Bachert, seconded by Councilmember Farmer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? All right, meeting is adjourned.